Good morning. Merry Christmas. I hope you're having an amazing morning with your friends and family. We're going to sing some Christmas tunes this morning. There will be words on the bottom of the screen, so feel free to join in with us. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nature sing, and heaven and nature from myself, the staff, and the leadership of Fort Christian Church, we want to first and foremost wish you a very Merry Christmas wherever you are. And we are certainly thankful for technology that allows all of us to talk about Jesus and to be the church together even when we are apart on days like this. And it seems that not only does Christmas Day allow us to focus on the birth of Christ, the birth that changed our eternity, but it also serves as a bit of a placeholder for us to think about the year that was in 2016, but also consider what might be ahead of us in the year that will be, which is 2017. And as I have done this week, I've looked back on 2016, and I've thought of how it's been such a great year of blessings, but it's also been a year of bumps and been a year of bruises. My family and I, we've had a lot of mountaintop experiences over this past year, but we've also experienced a lot of valleys as well. There's been a lot of triumph in our life in 2016, but there's also been a lot of stress too. So is the ebb and flow of life, and I can only imagine that you and your family, you've experienced all of the ups and downs that life has to offer, just like I have this year. And so as we look back on a year that was and look towards the year on the horizon, I want to talk this morning about how, despite whatever circumstances that might be surrounding us, that we can rise above them. And we can also this morning take a look at, through the birth of Christ, how those circumstances invited individuals to remain obedient even through difficult times. And it seems that Christ summed up this idea of obedience early on in his ministry in the book of Matthew. And on one such occasion, there's a religious leader who's trying to trap Jesus, and he comes to Jesus and he asks Jesus, what is the most important commandment? And what he's essentially asking Jesus is, what are the best ways to be obedient? And Jesus says this in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 37, he says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. I love how Christ simplifies all that you and I often complicate. And he says that obedience is simply loving God and loving others. But how is it that we can love God and love others when circumstances aren't ideal? When our valleys and bumps and bruises make it difficult? And I think that through the story of Mary and Joseph, we can be encouraged by their obedience even through tough times. And we can take a look at those tough times in the book of Luke chapter 1, beginning in verse 26. It reads this way. God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a village in Galilee, to a virgin named Mary. She was engaged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of King David. Gabriel appeared to her and said, greetings, favored woman, the Lord is with you. Confused and disturbed, Mary tried to think what the angel could mean. Don't be afraid, Mary, the angel told her, for you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He'll be very great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David. Now, for a minute, if you and your family could put yourself in Mary's shoes, you have no doubt that her mind was probably running wild. She was probably so worried and so confused as she tried to envision what this could mean for her life and the repercussions that could come if she was indeed obedient, even through these tough circumstances. I mean, for one, she could be accused of lying. Because her and Joseph were only engaged to be married and not yet married, she could also be treated with contempt. You know, someone under such circumstances would surely be beneath respectable consideration, and some people would even consider her worthless. Because of this, she could be rejected by her own family. She could be rejected by her fiancé, Joseph, and her future family, Joseph's family. Or a culmination of all these repercussions, it could even have resulted in Mary being punished through losing her life. So if Mary were to be obedient to bringing Christ into this world, it means it could turn her own world upside down. which is why I love in verse 34, maybe after thinking all of these thoughts, all of these worries, all these concerns and stresses, everything that made these circumstances difficult. In verse 34, Mary has one question for the angel Gabriel. And Mary says, how? How? If all this is true, how? And I love the response that the angel gives Mary. I love the parting words, the last words that the angel gives Mary. He says, for nothing is impossible with God. For nothing is impossible with God. And so as you sit here on this Christmas day, thinking how God has called all of us to obedience, God has called our families to obedience, to love him and to love others, you may very well be finding or find yourself right now in a position where obedience just seems impossible. And you may be at the end of your rope and you might be thinking, how? And the answer is still that nothing is impossible with God. You see, the birth of Christ, this Christmas story, it's all about how Christ came to this world through chosen people. And these chosen people were called to be obedient even through their less than favorable circumstances. And now for you and I as chosen people, our responsibility is to still take Christ to others, to still love other people as ourselves despite whatever circumstances we find ourselves in. And so this morning, we need to understand that the birth of Christ means you have purpose. The birth of Christ means your family has purpose. And maybe most importantly, we need to realize that the birth of Christ lets us know that nothing is impossible with God. Thanks for spending part of your morning, your afternoon, your evening. Thanks for spending your Christmas with us. Look forward to seeing you soon. God bless.
2, 3, 4.
Oh
Christmas!
Merry Christmas!